DK.
Serving Pennsylvania,
New Jersey,
and Delaware.
Now live.
This is News 10 Today.
United Nations Secretary General Kofi Annan makes one more try at diplomacy to resolve the Iraqi crisis, heading to Baghdad this week.
A preliminary hearing is coming up today for former Derby Mayor Daniel Devlin. He's charged with robbing a bank.
The story in Chester of a senior citizen fighting back against a young attacker who returned to strike again.
Good morning and welcome to News 10 Today. I'm Connie Cola.
I'm Steve Levy. 6 a.m., February the 18th. Good Wednesday morning to you.
Let's check your roads and your traffic this morning and see how they look.
To the traffic center first, Mark Davies. Good morning.
Good morning, Steve. Good morning, Connie. Well, so far this morning, we're doing pretty well most of the major roads. A little foggy and a little wet. Let's look live in Collingswood at a bit of a problem. 130 Circle. Collingswood is, in Collingswood, the 130 is blocked at the Collingswood Circle right to Collings Avenue. That's because of flooding. A little drainage problem there. Admiralson Boulevard, though, certainly unaffected. It's not a tidal problem. Across the bridges, we're in great shape. In the News 10 Metro Traffic Center, I'm Mark Davies for News 10. Now let's check your forecast. Here's Bill Henley outside on City Line. Good morning, Bill.
Mark, I think we're going to be doing okay today. A little bit of sunshine, lots of clouds, and still a couple showers, but nowhere near as heavy as what we saw yesterday. And those temperatures are almost unbelievable. Right now, it's downright warm, 50 degrees, and we're heading up to a high of 60 this afternoon. Just how long will this mild weather last? I'll show you with the 5-day forecast in just a few minutes.
All right, Bill, thank you very much. In the news this morning, the United Nations Secretary General is about to head out on a last-ditch mission to Iraq.
Kofi Annan will try to reach a diplomatic solution to the crisis involving weapons inspections. After meeting with Security Council members yesterday in New York, Annan said he will go to Baghdad on Friday. Yesterday, President Clinton went to the Pentagon to make sure U.S. troops are ready for a military strike on Iraq, if need be. The president addressed an audience of defense employees and the nation, all watching on live TV. He talked about what would happen if Saddam Hussein does not back down. NBC News has learned that in a phone call with Kofi Annan yesterday, President Clinton urged him not to give any ground on the weapons inspections issue.
And the man who challenged Saddam Hussein the first time around is speaking out about this latest crisis with Iraq. Former President George Bush says he has no regrets about not finishing off Saddam Hussein during Operation Desert Storm.
We had the force. We could have rolled into Baghdad in 48 hours, and then all hell would have been broken loose, and we would have been standing alone, making a martyr out of a defeated brute and tyrant, Saddam Hussein.
So the White House effort to win support for its Iraqi policy will continue today. U.S. Secretary of State Madeleine Albright, U.S. Secretary of Defense William Cohen will be involved in a town meeting on this subject later on today in Columbus, Ohio, on the campus of Ohio State University. And now the latest for you on the grand jury investigation into President Clinton's alleged affair with Monica Lewinsky. Former White House volunteer Kathleen Willey is the latest person to be subpoenaed by prosecutor Kenneth Starr's office. Willey reportedly said in a past deposition that the president made a pass at her. It was retired Secret Service officer Louis Fox who was on the stand yesterday. Fox said that he saw Monica Lewinsky visit the president at the Oval Office an afternoon in 1995. But according to Fox's lawyer, his client can't be sure if Lewinsky and President Clinton were alone in the room that day.
A local mayor charged with robbing a bank faces a judge today. There is a preliminary hearing in Upper Darby for former Darby Mayor Daniel Devlin. And News 10's Uzi Brown Washington is standing by live with a look at what's ahead today. Good morning, Uzi.
Good morning, Connie. As you mentioned, that preliminary hearing is scheduled for a bit later this morning, and it's probably going to feel very odd to a lot of people. The person they're going to be referring to as the defendant is someone a lot of people around here used to refer to as Mr. Mayor. Politics will usually split any town, but what's splitting the people in and around Upper Darby Township these days is the politician who robbed a bank, former Darby Mayor Daniel Devlin.
I think it's a disgrace. I really do. It's just, he's a mayor of a community and he's going to go rob a bank. And what does that say for our community?
He's going to go hold up a bank? Not something wrong with that guy.
In December, the day after Christmas, Devlin walked into this bank and told the teller he had a bomb. The former mayor reportedly got away with $1,500 in cash, but it was a short getaway. 30 minutes after the robbery, Devlin turned himself in to police.
They are good people. They are. I swear to God they are.
Friends and neighbors make an emotional defense for their former mayor, saying Devlin had been severely depressed after losing his job and then losing his bid for re-election. And while many are compassionate and understanding, just as many want to see Devlin treated not as a former mayor, but as any other bank robber.
15,000? Is you crazy? I still be in jail trying to call people from Jamaica to come bail me out of jail. I still be in jail.
What that young man is referring to is the fact that the former mayor was released on $1,500 bail, something a lot of people here did not really care for. At this point, he has been released on bail, but he will be back in court again later this morning for his preliminary hearing. Devlin has been charged with robbery and theft. Reporting live in Upper Darby, I'm Uzi Brown, Washington, News 10.
Uzi, there have been a lot of reports that he was a bit disturbed before all of this happened. Does it look like that will play into the proceedings?
I'm pretty certain, Connie, it will probably come up during the preliminary hearing. The mayor, after he turned himself in, went over to a friend of his, the police chief, gave him the money, turned himself in, told him what just happened. He also checked himself in for psychiatric help as well. So that probably will come up in this preliminary hearing.
All right, we'll see what happens.
Okay.
Thank you, Uzi. Well, an almost unbelievable story from Chester City to tell you about this morning. A 65-year-old victim of a sexual assault turned the tables on the attacker when he broke into her house for a second time. Police say the suspect grabbed a knife from her kitchen and then crept upstairs and into her bedroom. He didn't know about the stun gun the woman had hidden under her blanket this time.
I lunged towards him. He screamed and ran, grabbed the knife again, and ran out of the room. And I slammed the door and locked it.
Police arrested the 16-year-old suspect a few blocks away. He allegedly sexually assaulted this same woman on January 5th.
Former Naval Academy midshipman Diane Zamora is facing life in prison this morning. She showed no emotion after a Texas jury convicted her of killing a 16-year-old romantic rival. Zamora's ex-fiancé David Graham will be tried later for the same crime. He's accused of killing the 16-year-old Adrienne Jones and asking Zamora to help. Legal victory this morning for talk show host Oprah Winfrey in her Texas beef lawsuit. Yesterday, a federal judge took a bite out of the cattleman's case. She ruled the veggie libel law, which protects perishable food from false statements, does not apply in this case. The judge didn't throw out the case, but observers say that the cattlemen must now prove that Winfrey intentionally tried to hurt their industry with comments made on her show.
Well, the rain has stopped this morning in parts of California hit hard by El Nino-driven storms, but the ground is still moving. Pretty incredible pictures. This hill used to be above some tennis courts in Laguna Beach. Now it's on top of them. Firefighters say there was no warning. The hillside just started to collapse after the rain had stopped.
Remarkable pictures, huh?
Yeah.
8 minutes after 6 o'clock, this is the 18th.
Mark Davies, how does our Wednesday look?
Actually, it's not too bad on the major roads, at least. If you're out to drive this morning, you're going to do fine. Unless, of course, you're in Collingswood. A bit of a problem there. 130 is blocked. Collings Avenue to the Collingswood Circle. That's because of flooding. We have no word on when that's expected to be reopened. Last time it was shut down, though, it was for most of the morning's rush hour. Let's look at the Ben Franklin Bridge tolls. Doing pretty well there at the tolls and across the bridge. You'll see it's a little foggy and a little wet. A little of each for the most part, though. It's not going to slow you down too much. Had an accident in the Boulevard northbound, but actually northbound outer drive north of 3rd, 4th. It's kind of where they cross the boulevard together. That's in the process of being cleaned up. In the News 10 Metro Traffic Center, I'm Mark Davies for News 10.
Thanks, Mark.
You're welcome.
Let's talk about the weather forecast and see how things look. If you peeked out the door early this morning, it's a bit foggy out there.
A little strange day, Bill Henley.
Yeah, we have some areas of dense fog this morning in Delaware, Dover, and Wilmington reporting some dense fog, also in South Jersey, Millville, and spots of fog, in fact, over just about the entire area. And where there's not fog, well, there is cloud cover, and believe it or not, very warm temperatures. It's almost unbelievable. Our temperatures this morning are in the 50s. Right now here on City Line Avenue, we do have cloudy skies and some fog, and we are in the low 50s. Today, our forecast is calling for clouds and some sunshine, and there's still a threat of a passing shower, but nothing like what we saw yesterday and last night. Then tonight, mostly cloudy, dropping down to only 48 degrees, so staying nice and mild overnight. Earthwatch radar shows the storm as it rolled through last night with some very heavy rain, some bands of rain that produced some significant amounts of precipitation. But that system is pulling away right now, and what's left are some clouds and a possibility of some passing showers. Much lighter than what we saw yesterday, and we don't expect to see any thunderstorms today. Our forecast is calling for the fog to burn off. We'll be left with clouds and sunshine, and showers with an afternoon high temperature up to 60 degrees.
This is a live view from Natick, Massachusetts. The roads to Boston are wet and could be hazardous for your commute. It's a similar situation on many roads in the Northeast. Effects of a widespread rainy system this morning. Good morning. Welcome to WeatherScope. I'm Rick Griffin. We have the latest on what's been a damaging storm system as it's traveled north. And we also have a live report on what to expect as the day unfolds in the Boston area. So for all that in detail, let's go to Mark Mancuso in the Forecast Center. Good morning, Mark.
Yeah, good morning, Rick. Thanks a lot. And I tell you, it was pouring last night around the Big Apple, but that heavy rain has now shifted east into New England. So it looks like the real headaches for the morning rush hour will be in eastern Massachusetts. So let's take a look at the storm. It's sitting up here in Ohio, around Dayton, and this will move slowly northeastward over the next couple of days. Quite a bit of mild, moist air streaming up right along the immediate coast here, and the place that's seeing the heaviest of the precipitation now is in southern New England, especially in southeast Massachusetts here. Notice the temperatures up above freezing at Bangor and Boston and Albany and Burlington. So in this zone here, that's where we have some of our frozen precipitation, but most areas are looking at rain. Look at these temperatures. They are balmy. 53 degrees in Philadelphia. So as all this precipitation spins around our low pressure here, we're looking at bands of heavy rain. But notice the heavy rains have moved away from southeast PA and New York City as the dry slot has moved in. Now the heavy rains coming up through eastern Massachusetts. Very heavy rains just to the south of Boston coming up through the South Shore. Here's where your frozen precipitation could possibly be today into tonight. Notice Boston, New York, Albany, Syracuse, Rochester, no problems at all. But the rain will be a significant problem for you commuters in eastern Massachusetts. So let's check with Jim Cantor, who's stationed outside of Boston, just a couple of miles down the road from the old turf there, Newton, Massachusetts. There's Jim on Route 9. Good morning, Jim.
Yeah, Route 9 here in Natick, Mark. Busy one, of course, as you know. Right around 7:30, we ought to see this whole route just packed with cars as everybody heads into Boston. Now, this is probably about a 30-minute drive on a normal day, but, of course, rush hour and the fact that you've got the rain is going to probably make that a 45 to an hour drive for you this morning, so plan on that. Needless to say, we're back in the rain. We're, ironically, as you probably would guess, in New England this time of the year, with a storm that's moving off the East Coast, or at least a part of it, you'd be in the snow part of it. But no, we've had so much warm air up and through here. As Mark mentioned earlier, we've even had a few thunderstorms with warnings, which I'm sure we will get to for you here in just a moment. But definitely expect delays at Logan. Expect a slower drive this morning. Expect some local flooding because the ground is frozen. So there's nothing that's going to absorb all this water. So it's all going to run off, and there's going to be some problems, obviously, especially in the low-lying areas heading in toward Brookline and whatnot. You're going to run into some flooding this morning. Mark, again, I've had better mornings, so that's for sure, but don't count on winter being over for a long shot. I don't think this area can just say, hey, now that we don't have any snow, we're done with winter. That's far from over, as you know. Back to you.
All right, thanks a lot, Jim. I'm sure very frustrating for snow lovers. Big, cold Arctic air mass for a couple of days, and now look at it, it's raining.
Yeah.
All right, thanks a lot, Jim. And as we take a look at the scenario in the Northeast, thunderstorms, as Jim alluded to there, coming up through southeast Massachusetts. Can you believe it? Earlier, we did have a severe thunderstorm warning in Bristol County. That storm has weakened now as it's moved its way northeastward and will be affecting Taunton very shortly. Very heavy rains there and probably around Norwood and Brockton. Oh, yeah, you'll be getting pounded with heavy rains here. That's moving right up towards Weymouth and Scituate. Notice some darker green and some yellows here. Very heavy downpours of rain moving up into southern New Hampshire. And in New Hampshire, the air is a little bit colder here in the interior, but around Concord, we are looking at snow and sleet and this freezing rain around Jaffrey. So if you are traveling up Route 93 here at upper Route 3, you will hit some wintry precipitation up well to the north of Boston. New York City, well, the heavy rain has moved out. You picked up about an inch of rain, but that rain has really tapered off, so just a little light stuff early this morning. But we did have some pretty high winds and some strong thunderstorms come through Wantagh here, and last night power was knocked out here. High winds brought down the power lines and toppled trees, and those trees have toppled over in the rain-softened ground. But power crews have been working, and the update tells us that they do have power restored to Wantagh on Long Island there. If you are traveling today into Boston, as Jim mentioned, you probably have some delays here. Heavy rain moving through this morning, and especially on Starro Drive there in those big dips, there could be some water accumulating. To the west, though, New York, just light showers, and ditto that for Philadelphia. And if you're away from your television and you want to keep up to date on that heavy rain in the Northeast, visit our online service, weather.com. Now, here's Rick with the current conditions in the South and Midwest and your forecast.
Thanks, Mark. Let's start in the South, where yesterday we were really concerned with all the severe weather in Alabama, Georgia, and Florida. But checking on the weather map, things have changed. You don't have to be concerned with severe storms in Birmingham or Atlanta or Orlando or Miami, for that matter. Just a few garden variety mid to late winter showers. We still have